All right, let's dive right in. We're going to explore a pretty wild idea today. What if our reality, our entire existence, is running on a hidden operating system? And what if, somewhere along the way, we've all forgotten the password? We're talking about a great forgetting, a kind of collective amnesia about the very rules that shape our lives.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. Have you ever had a feeling that something's missing? That maybe, deep down, we've all forgotten something absolutely essential about who and what we are? And I'm not talking about where you left your keys. I mean, something so fundamental that remembering it could change everything. And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it. The problem isn't just that we lost some crucial piece of information. The problem is we've lost the memory that anything is even missing in the first place. Thinkers like Gregg Braden suggest this is the real source of our disconnection, from ourselves, from each other, and from the universe itself.
Okay, so to even begin to understand what we've forgotten, we've got to look at the basic rules of the game, reality's operating system, if you will. The whole idea is that there are these fundamental principles that govern existence, and it all starts with the container for everything, a universal field.
So this entire concept is built on something that comes right out of modern physics. The universe is not just empty space. It's actually this huge, interconnected field of energy and information. Now, some thinkers, Braden included, take it a step further. They call it a divine matrix, an intelligent field that literally connects everything. The quantum field is science. The idea of its intelligence, well, that's where science and spirituality start to shake hands.
All right, so rule number one of how this field supposedly works, it's holographic. What does that even mean? Well, it means every single part, no matter how tiny, reflects the whole. Braden uses this great analogy of a holographic bookmark. If you cut that bookmark into 1,000 tiny pieces, each little piece doesn't just show a corner of the image, it contains the entire image. The theory is the universe works just like that.
You know, there's this classic story that paints a perfect picture of this, called the 100th monkey effect. The story goes that scientists were observing monkeys on separate islands, and when one group finally figured out a new skill, how to wash their food, suddenly monkeys on completely different islands with no physical way to communicate started doing the exact same thing. Now, it's more of a powerful metaphor than a hard scientific study, but it really helps you visualize how new information could just ripple through this invisible field. And that leads us right into rule number 2, the fractal principle. This is actually pretty simple. It just means that nature is incredibly efficient. It doesn't reinvent the wheel every time. It uses just a few elegant, simple patterns and then repeats them over and over and over again on every scale you can possibly imagine.
Just look at this, it's wild. On one side, you've got a massive bolt of lightning tearing through the sky. And on the other, you have a tiny little neuron firing inside your brain. It's the exact same branching pattern. In both cases, it's just energy following the path of least resistance. The neuron is basically a tiny microscopic fractal of the lightning. Same design, different scale.
Okay, so we've got the rules of the universe down. We have a holographic fractal field. Now, let's turn the camera around and point it right at you, because this is where it gets really, really weird. The idea that you are a solid physical person is, from a scientific standpoint, well, it's pretty much a myth.
I mean, we all learned in school about the atom being like this tiny little solar system, right? A solid core with little electrons buzzing around it like planets. But quantum mechanics came along and just blew that whole picture apart. An atom isn't a thing at all. It's more like a pulsing field of probabilities, a wave of pure potential just waiting for something to look at it to become real. So if your body is literally made of these clouds of possibility, what does that actually mean for you? Well, I want you to just stare at this number for a second. Let it sink in. 99.9999999%. That's how much of you, of your physical body, is technically empty space. Yeah, you heard that right. The only reason you feel solid is because of the way our very limited senses interpret the energy fields whizzing around in all that space. And this brings us to this mind-bending quote from Gregg Braden. He says, "You and I are less of a thing and more of a place in space-time." Just think about that. You're not a static object. You are a dynamic event. You're a process, a location where energy from the field is constantly bubbling up into reality. Okay, so if we're not solid objects, but we're actually just possibilities dancing in a responsive field, that changes the whole game, right? It means we're not just victims of circumstance. It means we can actually learn how to consciously interact with that field. The big question is, how? Well, according to this model, the field is intelligent, it's responsive, but it's waiting for instructions.
It needs a template from us. It needs a blueprint. We are the architects, and our focused thoughts and our feelings, those are the blueprints we send out into the quantum field.
So here's the supposed process broken down. Step 1, you choose. You get crystal clear on the reality you want to experience. Maybe it's a healed body or a new opportunity, whatever. Step 2, and this is the most important part, this is the engine, you have to feel it. You have to generate the emotion of that reality as if it has already happened. That combination, a clear thought, your intention, married to an elevated emotion, your feeling, creates a powerful electromagnetic blueprint. And step 4, the field responds. It begins to collapse possibility into the physical reality that matches your new energy.
All right, now let's zoom back out, because this is where we connect your personal power, your ability to create a blueprint, back to that holographic principle we talked about earlier. See, your personal shift, it isn't just for you. Because if we're all connected in this one big field, your upgrade literally has a ripple effect.
You know, we're so often taught that self-improvement or personal awakening is this kind of private, almost selfish journey, something you do for yourself. But what if that's completely backwards? In a holographic universe, your awakening is structural. It's a contribution to the whole. When you heal yourself, when you raise your own consciousness, you are, in theory, upgrading the entire human grid.
Here's a perfect modern analogy. Think about a fleet of Teslas. When the company sends out an over-the-air software update, the lessons learned by one car's AI can be integrated into the AI of the entire fleet. One single upgrade signal can literally elevate the intelligence of the whole system. The idea here is that you are that signal. When you hit that state of inner coherence, that alignment between your heart and your mind, you are sending a new, upgraded code into the collective human field. And that brings us all the way back to the beginning. We've forgotten our power. We've forgotten our connection. We've forgotten our true nature as co-creators in this living, breathing cosmos. So let me leave you with this final thought. What if the great shift we've all been waiting for, the great return that so many traditions talk about, what if it isn't about beings coming down from the stars to save us? What if it's about an internal return? The moment we finally wake up from the great forgetting and remember who we've been all along.